Hey everyone, it's Elise from Blossom Elise Illustration, and today we're going to be learning how to do a dripping and bleeding effect. So I'm going to be showing you how to make kind of water droplets, how to do the water droplets and how it looks on different paper. So I've got a rough textured paper and a smooth textured paper, and that will kind of give you an idea of what it's going to look like. And let's get started. So here I've got everything set up. I've got my Cotman watercolour set by Windsor and Newton. I've got my Sceptre Gold 6 round. I've got a 200 GSM in rough texture this time. I've got just a little pot of water and also my paper towel. So the first thing we're going to be doing is showing you how to create a bleeding effect. So I'm just getting my brush and I'm dabbing it in with water. Just kind of dabbing it off at the side so we don't have too much water in. And then I'm going to choose whichever colour you like. Today I think I'm going to be using this blue. And I'm just going to put that onto the paper here. And I'm just grabbing a little bit more because I want it to be quite strong. Now you can see already that the colour is starting to pool, but we want a really nice feathering out. So I'm rinsing my brush here, just having water on the brush without wiping it off, is I'm just bringing it out around the sides. And you can see that's starting to blend. So that's one way you can do it. Now you can, with just a damp brush again, you can go back into the colour and put more on and let it feather out. Or we can rinse our brush and get a bit of a different colour. And just remembering every time that we're just kind of putting it on and not blending it out. So we're just letting it do it by itself. Here I am just mixing it in a little bit to create the purple. But again, I'm letting it dry on its own. Now you can see on this paper, this is actually a rough textured paper, so you can see the lines. So if you were using a smooth or a medium press, you probably won't see these lines as much, but I wanted to use a textured paper today just for something a little bit different. Now again, I'm just having a damp brush, just wiping it gently on the edge of the pot, and I'm just bringing the colour out. And that's blending out by itself. So that's one way of using that kind of feathering technique. Another way that we can do is we can put the water straight on the paper. So I'm making a little damp patch here with water, and I'm going to grab whichever colour you feel like. This time I'm going to grab a yellow. Now unfortunately my yellow has a bit of another colour on top, so what I'm doing is I'm wetting the top here and I'm just grabbing my brush and dabbing that off. Just grabbing my paper and dabbing that off so you can see I've got all the gunk and I've got a nice clean place to work on there. So I'm grabbing my yellow, I'm just loading up my brush there. And on the place where we have the water already, we're just dabbing that in. And that's going to blend out into the, it's going to blend out into the water that's already there. Now just to show you that a little bit more, I'm going to grab an orange. And you can see it collecting into that water that we already have on the page. After that, you can go through with a damp brush and just lightly blend it, just to get the colours blended. And again, you can bring it with a damp brush, just bringing that out. So there's a couple of different ways. Learn how to do a dripping technique. So what I like to do is just tipping my paper up a bit. So even if the paper, if it's already dry, we can still work with that. And you can see the colours are blending down here. But you want to create an effect of where the colour is already pooling. So by gently lifting up my paper and creating an edge, I can see that the colour is starting to pool here. And what we want to do is just lightly help out that brush. So I've dipped it in, dabbed it off so it's not saturated but it's still quite damp, and we're just going to bring that slightly down. Now, right now you can either do a few different things. So what you can do is just dabbing your brush in and see it's filled with water. Try not to drip it anywhere else and just putting the water right there. And then we're going to lift off the paper a bit, and that's going to create a drip just on its own. That's a really nice light colour drip. If we wanted to add a bit more colour in, we can. So I'm just grabbing some pink here. And I'm just dabbing it at the bottom, and you can see it making its way down. So this is quite a free form drip. We haven't really controlled what we want it to look like. On this particular paper, because it does have the ridges, it's giving us quite a straight line. And now what I do to finish off the drip, you can see we've got a big puddle of water here. And we don't really, let's say we want the drip to end in a little round puddle, but we don't want it to fall off the page while it's drying. So what I usually do is grabbing a corner of some damp paper or even a tissue, I just dab the corner in just very lightly until it soaks up into the paper, but it still leaves us with a little bit there to dry, so it gives us a more natural effect. Okay, and the next thing we can do is create more of a structured drip. So just dabbing off our brush again, I'm gonna work on this orange here. So let's build up our brush with orange because we want quite a strong drip this time. And we're just dabbing in the bottom here, and we're bringing it down with our brush. Now rinsing our brush, dabbing it off, and we're just gonna draw the line that we want really, really, really gently. So this is more of a structured drip, but it's still, we still want it to look like a natural fall. So now I'm grabbing my brush with more water, and I'm going to grab more of the orange, and I'm going to pop it at the bottom here and let it make its way through. Now after this, I'm going to grab more water without dabbing my brush off, and you can see when I put it there, the water ran all the way down, creating a nice natural flow. Now the more water you put on, the more carefree it's going to be. And so here, just before it hits the edge of the page, or we can finish it wherever we want, we're going to grab a corner of some tissue, and we're just sticking the corner of the tissue just on the very top, just until it soaks in. So we're not dabbing it, we're just lifting the puddle of water into the corner of the tissue. And you can see there it's made a nice little finish. You can see that this one's really wanting to drip here. So another thing that we can do here is grabbing a brush full of clear water, just making a bit of a line, and we're just going up and we're going to join that line. And you can see immediately as soon as it joined, the colour ran all the way down. So let's say we finished this, we finished the painting, and we decided actually that drip is not quite the colour that I wanted it to be. It's dried a little bit lighter than expected. What you can do is grabbing your brush and just putting a bit more water there again. Just grabbing a stronger colour or quite a lot of pigmentation and just dabbing more on there. And dabbing more and more. And you can see because the paper is still a bit wet, when I'm dabbing the colours are bleeding out into each other. So I'm just dabbing some more on. And you can see the colours hit the top, but it hasn't gone all the way through. So what I want to do is grab a bit of water onto our brush, not too much, and just helping it along by giving it a little bit more water. And you can see the colour going all the way down. Now we've got the same problem where we don't want the water to travel all the way down. So we're going to grab our tissue again, fold it into a nice little corner, and just doing the same thing, just lifting the water up into the tissue without trying to deform the shape that we've already created at the bottom there. And that's how we do our blending and drip technique. Now I'm going to go and grab a different piece of paper, one that's a little bit smoother, and I'm going to do the same thing kind of in a faster motion so you can see what it's going to look like not being on the rough paper. is the textured paper. You've got the little lines there from the one that we worked on earlier, because this was a textured paper. And you can see how this one, it's quite a bit more smoother with the way that it has blended. This one here is just an example of something you can do. It's a bit abstracty, just kind of with the blending techniques. So you can see that I've got the bleeding technique here. I've done a few different drips. So that's just an example of the same thing there. So if you enjoyed that video, don't forget to give me a big thumbs up and subscribe to my channel so you don't miss any of my future how-to videos and also my speed paintings. If you want to, you can also leave a comment down below and let me know if you enjoyed it, what you enjoyed about it, or anything that you want to see in the future. And also on Instagram, I would love to see all of your work. So if you hashtag illustrate with Elise, and then I'll be able to see it and comment on it and give you any advice that you'd want to know, anything like that. So yeah, I'll see you next time.